Hey, I'm going to show you over the next hour exactly how I would build this MVP marketing performance dashboard for this agency on Upwork. It's going to be absolutely raw. You're going to get every single mistake I make included, no cuts unless we're waiting for stuff to finish with AI to just build code. But other than that, you're going to get the raw, uncut, start to finish of how I would build this from scratch. Couple caveats: my AI is already set up. I'm using T3 code. Switch over here, you'll see. So I'm assuming you have at least basic setups of how these systems are, the basic AI setups. Like you have Claude Code or you have Codex, right? If you're not, I'll make a video about it if the demand is there. But if you don't know what T3 code is, it's exactly the same as any other Claude Code, Codex, etc. But it lets me use multiple models all in one system, right? It's not, I don't go directly in the terminal. It's a bit of a prettier interface, and I just found it really convenient to switch between the different AIs that I use for different purposes. But going back to what we're doing today, it's going to be this MVP marketing performance dashboard for our agency, and I barely read this, so you're going to get it right from the raw start all the way to the finish. How I'm actually understanding the job, how I go through the process of planning it out, and just kind of figuring out live. And you'll see me make mistakes and you'll see me have to redo things and maybe start from scratch, but you're going to get the whole thing so you understand the actual process. Someone who does this for a living and has done it for clients before, how I would actually build this system. Bit of context about me: my name's Storm. I'm the owner and founder of One Click Systems. We run an AI automation agency. Typical, we go into your business, analyze how it works, find the bottlenecks, and build out the systems for you. So going straight into this, they're a marketing consultancy looking for an AI data engineer to build an MVP marketing performance dashboard for their agency. So a data dashboard, data currently spread across multiple platforms into one automated system that can be used across clients: GA4, Google Search Console, Google and local search rankings, competitor share of voice. That's an interesting one. Don't know what that means off the bat. Backlinks and referring domains. Okay. AI visibility, AI share of voice, Google business profile reviews, business outcomes such as leads and appointments. An internal dashboard, a client dashboard, and an AI analysis automated summary of performance changes, competitive movement, opportunities, and recommended priorities. We open using lower cost APIs rather than expensive platforms. SEO research expertise internally. They need someone strong in data architecture, API integrations, etc. Blah, blah, blah. MVP, not SaaS build. Okay. So to start this off, to give a bit of context, I'm building a very similar system out for one of our clients, Store and Gate Domination. We've literally plugged in SEMrush, page read speed insights, ClickUp, GA4, GBP, and their own leads tracking system internally from the forms that get filled out in the calls. So this isn't like a complete zero starting from scratch. And I know a couple things that I would already flag based on my experience with doing the work already. Example, Google Business Profile Reviews, the Google Business Cloud API has a really outdated way of getting this, and they're actually, I think, making it obsolete. And so it's really hard to get reviews just based off of like a direct Google access. So there's going to have to be an alternative way, which is going to be probably some kind of scraper. And we're going to have to see how well it scrapes, all right? But GA4, Google Search Console, no problem. Google and local search rankings, no problem. There'll be an API or a scraper that will allow us to pick locations to scrape this data from. Competitor share of voice and AI share of voice. I'm guessing this means how often the clients are showing up on Google search results. But obviously, if I was communicating with this client, I'd be able to ask these questions and get them clarified. So we're going to make a couple of assumptions here. But just going straight off the bat, if I bring this into, we want these, this is the main stuff, right? We're going to bring this into Excalibur so we can just go over it. These are the three things. These are what they want inside of them, which is fine. Okay. So they want an internal dashboard, client dashboard, and the AI analysis. This is going to basically be, this is going to be plugged in to these two. You're going to have an AI that is running the analysis, which is, they're saying, of performance changes, competitive movement, opportunities, a recommended priority. So this is already off the bat, this is going to have to be a continuous cycle of maybe every 24 hours. This system loops and it triggers maybe at 8 a.m., let's say, before anyone gets online. Maybe we can do it even earlier. And it would just trigger an AI analysis of the entire dashboard, right? That's going to be no problem. We need to figure out what AI model we're going to use for this, how we're going to be efficient and it not wasting credits. So maybe we can find out, split multiple models into doing multiple different things. Internal dashboard and client dashboard, we'll just do again mock-up. It's an MVP. We won't do any login systems yet. That's where it gets a bit complicated. Just going to keep it absolutely as dead simple as possible here. And we're going to work through these one by one. So I'm going to go into my project. I'm going to just make a folder quickly. Let's make a new one in here called Upwork Examples. Then we'll go in here and we're just going to name this Dashboard MVP. And in C3 code, I'm just going to navigate to it. Local folder, open an Explorer. And I'm going to select that. So because it's an MVP, typically if this was going to be a full system, I would actually start in Claude Design. And just to give a context of what that is, Claude Design is just Claude's built-in way of coming up with UIs really efficiently, basically. And so it looks like this, and it's a way I brainstorm my UI. They've actually added this directly in Claude code, but it doesn't work within C3 code, so I still use it this way. And all I would do is literally I would go to the, let's put this in here so we have it. And we can do it. Let's do it just to show you what I would do. And I'm just going to give it all of this that's relevant. I need dashboard design MVP for this outcome for a client. I'm just going to chuck it in. I'm going to let that cook. We're going to see what it comes up with. But for now, we're going to go back to T3 code and we're going to think I'm going to use Luna high at fast or max at fast because I just want speed right now. I don't need to do any, again, it's an MVP. I want to do this as quick as possible, really, not waste time worrying about really detailed infrastructure. If that was the case, we'd maybe do more planning. We'd start on Sol on high and really figure out like how we want to securely build this out with a proper backend, proper security, all that kind of stuff. MVP is all going to be local. And by local, I mean, I'm going to host everything on my computer. If it needs to be, if the client wants to interact with it, then I can figure out how to just post it on a temporary site. But for now, I'm going to build it locally. And then when I'm showcasing it, if I was showcasing it to this client, I would just record it on my screen, actually showing like what I'm doing, showcasing through all the steps, how it functions, etc. Keeps things quick, efficient, etc. If this is an internal tool you're building for yourself, you can have it all locally as well. It doesn't actually need to live anywhere, especially if you're only using it while you're at your desk. So literally, I'm going to start off with the internal dashboard. I'm going to say this is a MVP I'm building for a client. The design is currently being experimented on in Claude Design. So I just want to focus on the infrastructure and backend and scrapers. So again, more context, I'm already connected to Appify, which is what I use to get all of my scrapers from. I'll show you how to set it up from scratch as well, but it's very, very simple with AI. You can literally ask it to help you. You give it the API key and it just works, right? And this is pretty much for any major AI out there. So I'm gonna do that, I'm gonna do that. Let's brainstorm a plan. Use sub-agents to explore the various connections we'll need via API. What's available direct versus what we need external API scrapers for on Appify. I'm just going to send that and we're going to see what it does. We're just going to be really like back and forth with it. It's the best way I find working with this kind of stuff. While that's cooking, let's see if the Claude Design. Okay, we've got some questions. What do you need from me for the client pitch? Let's do all three view designs. I want to see what it does. Pilot, client, vertical, and numbers. It doesn't look like we know. No, we don't know. We don't know. Make it generic. GA4, Search Console, Google Rankings, AI Visibility, Reviews, Appointments. Let's do that. Full report, one scroll. How should the AI analysis appear? Let's do inline callouts. What that means is just, I think, having the AI put comments throughout the page rather than at one whole section is going to be a lot more easier to digest. You don't have two panels. Every time we're trying to build a system, we try and do as much as we can in the least amount of windows, least amount of clicks, least amount of tabs. Makes things a lot more easier for the end user to actually use. Multi-client scale, we just want a pilot client only. Any brand constraints? No. What variants pick from? Let's give 2 layout options. And this is the really nice thing about Claude Design, is that it automatically tries and just give you options, and you can just say, give me 5 versions completely different. You can let it sit on one, and you can start working on one, and then halfway through working on it, okay, make me a version B of this with different colors, different layers, etc. Really flexible, and it's just, you can just leave it going in the background as part of the Claude subscription. Really, really handy. Let's read what the main one is doing now. So mapping as an MVP, they're splitting the research, auditing Appify's current marketplace. So it's going to actually try and find on Appify what scrapers going to use, what are going to be the best to use for the different metrics that they want reported. And again, I'm going to try and not use any of my existing stuff from the existing client of mine. We're going to just do this completely from scratch. Okay, so now it's just a matter of a waiting game. Waiting to see what AI does. So you can see back in Claude Design, it's starting to build out the dashboard. Again, MVP, we're not going to care too much about the design here. It's more just getting, what I like to do is just get at least a direction, right? I want to see what that quantity of data is going to look like on a page, figure out, okay, are we going to need to split this up into multiple tabs within the page? And what is the smallest amount of tabs that we can do this? Or is there a way that we can be intelligent and actually put everything all on one page? Right now, I'm really liking this. It's putting that little AI summary underneath each section, and each section has its own little card. I think that's brilliant. Again, this is going to be really top level based on the Upwork post. This is going to be the internal dashboard. They're probably going to eventually need this per client, right? And they'll probably maybe have like a top level one where their team gets to see how each client is performing from maybe this month to last month. Something we're doing for door and gate domination. But yeah, we're just going to keep letting this cook. I really like the concepts it's going for. I don't like these little gaps. This is just a design quirk. But again, it's an MVP. I'm not going to waste too much time on the design. I just want to see what the raw data looks like on a page, how it's going to look. So we're going to let it keep cooking in that. Let's see what the main AI is doing. Okay, here we go. Let's see what it's done. It's starting to chuck it out here. Oh, it looks like it's messed up the formatting though, which makes it kind of hard to read. Okay, it's going crazy. So this is just like, again, way too much content for me right now. So I have a skill which makes this really, really, like, I call it non-coder. Basically, it's just to summarize what you've just said as a non-coder with no context to the situation. And it just, again, I found it's really helpful just consolidating lots of summaries of information all into a more digestible piece of a couple of paragraphs, so I can actually answer, especially when I'm jumping through multiple projects I'm doing for clients at once. You get lost in the context. This is a really nice way of summarizing it. I think it's still working anyway, so while it's doing that, I'll have a quick read. So Google, so this is new to me. Google has an AI related API that shows the AI coverage of, I'm assuming, search terms, which is probably really helpful to use here. We've got Google Trends, which may be the voice share that they were talking about that I can use. So for the MVP, it's recommended J4 API directly, admin API directly, agreed. Search Console API for organic clicks, agreed. GPB reviews, performance and business for local visibility. I'm guessing that's the Google API, Google Ads API. Only where paid campaign spend performance is required. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, it's done the nice, look at that. Look how much nicer that is. A couple paragraphs versus everything that was going on in the thinking there. The safest MVP is a control room fed by 2 kinds of pipes. Official connections, yep, and then external. That makes sense to me. So these are the official Google connectors we're going to use, and this is what we're going to use for external scrapers, etc. Now, data for SEO, Ahrefs, and SEMrush, they can be pricey. And they seem quite price conscious, this client. So we're going to see if we can get around this with just Appify scrapers, which it looks like they have here. But we'll see how it goes again as we do it. AI visibility needs careful wording. There's no reliable number showing the client owns 20. Yep, that makes complete sense. There may be third-party people which provide this a bit better, or it might be Google actually doing this completely now. I know third-party people definitely do this where they supply it via an API. So connect the pilot's client's Google account and confirm access, save all incoming data in one place. So because we obviously don't have access and I don't have these, we're going to just make mock data to simulate these API connections, but the API connections are fairly simple and AI is really good at guiding you. We'll connect up some of the other scrapers where we can, but for the Google connections, we're just going to have to make up data. So I'm going to say that. And I use Whisperflow here as well to help speed stuff up. So I'm going to just say it. Because this is for a MVP mockup for this client, we don't have access to their Google information. So I would like to just have mock data to simulate what that would look like. And anything that we can use on Appify as a scraper to actually show live connections, let's do that. But for the Google side of things, we'll most likely have to have mock data for a spread of months, maybe for a spread of clients as well. Add this to the plan. Let's see while that's going on what the Google Claude Design has done. So that's nice. This is really clean to me. I like the colors. Feels very professional. You'll have all of the buttons down on the left. You've got the client selection here. So this is almost like the top level. Then you'll be selecting the clients, actually seeing the information. So that makes sense to me. This is, I think, too compressed. For any internal tools, I like this dashboard view more, where you've got a column on the left which has navigation and then everything compressed in here in like an internal scrollable area where the bar on the left, the navigation bar, actually stays the same. Client view, I think that's great. It's almost just like a PDF basically, just really easy for them to understand, and AI will just be really summarizing this as simple as possible. AI analysis, I'm guessing that is a one-page actual full AI analysis. Again, I quite like it built into the page. And obviously for the client view, this is going to be fully AI generated text explaining the data. They don't really understand the specifics and the complexities of it. So we want to make it as simple as possible for them to understand, right? So I'm happy with this. I'm going to say, I want to keep internal layout A, client view is good. Don't need the AI analysis 2, as that will be within layout A, and client view as is. Clean this up for me to bring into a new AI agent. And what that's going to do, it's going to just clean the file up for me so I can just literally share it directly to my AI agent to actually run it as a local tool that we can develop and actually build out upon. MVP will have 3 data modes during the demo: synthetic data, Appify, and Google Live. Yep, that's good for me. The default demo C will cover, for example, clients, 12 months of history, GA4 style traffic. Great. Mock data would include realistic scenarios: 1 client growing, 1 decline. Perfect. Appify's Google Scraper support, scheduled runs, and API access, so it can be as genuine live public observation. That's good. I like that. No, because we change it. Okay, so we're going to wait for Claude Design to finish what it's doing on this page, and then I'm going to bring it in. That'll be included in the plan, and we're just going to let it cook. It'll probably take 10-15 minutes. That's when I could actually probably skip, so you're not waiting around, and then we'll see what it's done, and we'll then start refining it from there. Okay, that's done. So I'm going to hit share, and I'm going to download this as a standalone HTML. Now I'm going to do project archive. That's just going to give me the raw HTML. And I'm just going to say, check for the zip in my downloads folder. This is the interfaces UI I want you to use in building. Unzip it into the appropriate location in the workspace folder. Get it started locally. Use a local Supabase for this to run. And so what I'm doing here, I've downloaded it, so I'm going to get it to just bring this into the job folder, and I'm getting it to use a local Supabase for this to run on. What I mean by that is Supabase is for those who don't know, is a database hosting service. And what a database is if you have any data on your website or your service that needs to live in one place and not disappear when you close the browser or turn your computer off. This is what Supabase is for. There's plenty of other services similar. I use Supabase. It's easy. It's relatively cheap, especially for my clients, and it just gets the job done. It connects really well to the AI systems. If you don't know how to set this up, you literally just make an account and you can connect it to pretty much every single tool out there directly. They have built-in plugins. You ask the agent to do it, and it will do it. I'll show you X here. Pretend we don't have a Supabase connection for the sake of a video. I want to showcase how easy it is to install Supabase as either an MCP or a CLI. Difference between MCP and CLI are basically just different ways of plugging in. They both do slightly different things in Supabase, but again, if you don't know this, it doesn't matter. The AI can guide you. They're more than intelligent enough to show you through the exact steps, one, you need to take to install this, and two, what MCP or CLI you need for the specific task you're trying to do. And as a really basic summary of the difference between the two, they basically connect to different parts of the software. I don't know why they've done it this way. It just is. I have both running. And so especially if you're doing this for yourself, it's a lot easier. I have to keep switching between them and have systems that intelligently figure out what client I'm servicing to try and use that connection. But if you're just doing this for yourself, this is going to be super, super easy. You just tell it to do it, whether you're using GPT, whether you're using Codex, whether you're using Kimi, whether you're using Minimax, like any AI will be able to connect to it using the MCP or the CLI. They're basically just easy ways of connecting the two things together. So again, it's just checking for me. It's checking the instructions because both the CLI package and MCP setup details can change. So it's looking for the latest data on how to install it. You don't have to worry about this anymore at all. Let's check in on the build out. Okay. Okay, so you can see here what it's saying is that Supabase isn't installed globally. I've installed it for my other projects, but it's not a global installation. So it's basically installing that little connector for us for this specific project. And we're just going to, again, we're going to let it cook, wait for it to launch locally. And when I mean locally, it's just going to pop up on our browser and we're going to see what it does. Okay, just so you can see here, it did the research, it's figured out how it connects to either the MCP or the CLI. These are the commands that you'll basically do in the terminal and in the console. And you don't have to do this. You can just ask it to do it. You can just say, run the installation of the MCP for me, guide me through step by step for any parts that I need to physically do. And this is if you don't have like it connected to your own desktop control. If it's connected to your desktop, it could probably do that for you as well, right? That's the step that I still maintain for me to do just for pure security purposes. I don't want to be able to walk away from my computer and the AI has full access to my entire desktop, actually navigating, clicking buttons, just because if someone ever gets into any kind of prompt injection, that's where things can get ugly. So that's where I kind of draw the line for me personally right now, but some people are different. You do what's most comfortable for you. And just while that's cooking, another really good reason that I switched to T3 code. I was an avid VS Code straight in terminal user. That was what I was running for the last 5 months. Switched to T3 code, and not sponsored, but it's been a really good optimizer of my workflow for 2 reasons. One is this symbol card system on the left. It just shows when something's done and ready to be reviewed, what's been working on, and the summary of what it actually is. 2 is that it sets up all of the connection to your phone for you. One of the really annoying things that when you work from your phone, if you're using called remote desktop, and you have it connected via the app, you can spin up agents there. But other than that, like only recently have like Claude and Codex started to actually integrate these features, and they're still a bit awkward and they're still a bit buggy. This, I can spin up as long as I have agents connected. And just to show the context, I have Claude, Codex, Grok. I haven't installed Cursor yet, but these are really the main 3 that I only need. I have subscriptions to all of them. And from my phone, I can spin up agents at any point from anywhere in the world. I'm connected via Tailscale, which makes it like a secure one-to-one connection of my phone to my PC. And my PC is basically my 24/7 online server. So this is a really easy way of, if I have a client and I'm out who has a problem, I can just open up T3 Code on my phone. It's already connected to their workspace on my computer, and I can get it to start working on it. So it's the same thing for you. If you're out and about and you have your dashboard set up for your company and you need something tweaked or someone's having a problem, you can just open your app, open a new chat in the workspace that is for your dashboard, and just ask it to make the changes. Really, really nice, really, really efficient. This is one key thing that has just been flagged by my system. This is something I've purposely installed into every single one of my AIs. It's this paragraph here. The first install attempt hit the machine's npm before cutoff because it rejected package releases newer than 14th of August. So to give a bit of context, now I'll bring up Excalibur for this. npm is basically for anyone who's not a developer, including me, npm is basically a developer's library of lots of different tools. And you can have any single tool a developer will use. It might be anything to do with like resizing an image. It could be something to do with processing text. It could be something to do with how rendering 3D stuff on a browser. It could be loading fonts into a bit of software. Like it's literally like a library of millions of different tools that developers use to basically shortcut having to make them themselves and install it into whatever they're making, whether that's a dashboard, whether it's a game, like anything that's to do with kind of like software development. npm is the developer's library of it all. Anyone can upload to it. That's the danger. Anyone can upload to it. And when agents go to this service to find what they want, and anyone is able to upload software to it that runs locally on your computer, that's when the risks arise. And in the last couple of months, there has been a lot of attacks in the npm library where malicious people, as a malicious person, actually installs software into an existing npm package that lots of people are using. Your agent will then go, Mr. Friendly Agent will be like, okay, I need a package to make a sliding image on your app that you're trying to make. It's going to go up to the npm library. Oh, I found a package. It got updated yesterday. Let's grab it and put it onto my owner's computer. And that makes the owner, after they realize that the agent installed a compromised package or compromised library of systems that a malicious user had actually uploaded, and now all your data has been leaked because your agent also has access to all of your computer's information because you did it to do that so it could do a bunch of stuff for you. And now that's all gone to the malicious person and you are kind of screwed. So a very, very important thing to do is set a limit cutoff date of how recent can your agent install an npm package. This can just go into different ways you can do this. You can install this as a hook. And what a hook is every time your agent runs any kind of prompt to itself to do a step, a hook triggers. And I think there's different types of hooks, but that's one of them, where every time it may have to install an npm, it will check what it's doing and it will actually be flagged. I think you can actually, saying that, you can actually set it directly on the npm installer as a limit, which is a lot easier. So ignore that first one, but it's literally as easy as asking your agent to do it. Again, you can just say, add a limit to any npm installations for 2 weeks before today's date, and anything within the first 2 weeks, because they generally get caught relatively quickly, at least in the first week, if not two. And the more you want to safer you want to be, just increase that time. But that's what I'm trying to prevent here. Anyone who's potentially installed a malicious piece of software inside an npm package that my agent is trying to install that no one has detected yet. So I would highly, highly advise to do this before you ever work with any kind of agents installing npm packages, etc. So it looks like it is finally set it up. We have the interface all there. It's looking pretty good. It looks pretty much exactly the same as how I had it. It looks like it might be missing the AI analysis, but we got to plug that in anyway. It couldn't connect to Amplify, so it's falling back to the demo mode of demo data. So I can walk through exactly how to set this up. Perfect for the tutorial. And we've got the client switcher in the top right, which it still looks like it's trying to sort it out, but we're going to keep letting it cook. Once this is done, we'll walk through connecting up the Amplify. And the way we're going to connect up Amplify is basically give it a top level token so it can go and figure out what it needs, what scraper it needs, and grab it itself. It saves us getting the direct connections to each individual scraper. We let the AI do that. We let it test it. We chuck $10, $20 on and let it just run the tests that we need it to figure out what is the best scraper to use for this specific use case. One quick thing to mention, your agent will probably bring it up. If you've not installed Supabase locally before, you will need Docker. Docker is basically another software that is widely used in the developer world, and it's basically a service that lets you install packages for systems that are usually online or on the cloud. They all have pre-built versions in Docker, all these tools where it's literally just like especially when your agent is doing it, it just knows how to set it up. You don't have to do anything yourself. If you do, it guides you through it really, really easily. But it's, again, I think it's like the biggest software that does this kind of thing. And so you install Docker. In Docker, there's a bunch of pre-made packages for all these different services that are in the cloud. We're using Supabase, so it installs the Supabase Docker tool and it runs it on your computer for your AI agent to plug into. Dead simple. You don't need to be a developer to understand this. You don't need to understand it any further than that. Your agent will take care of it. So let's see. Okay, it's done. And so you're seeing here app and Supabase Studio. You can ignore Supabase Studio. This is like the backend that's going to contain all the data. Again, as you building this as an internal tool or whatever, you don't need to worry about that. The agent, that's for the agent to worry about, right? So we're going to switch over it. We'll refresh it to make sure that we've got the latest one. And let's see what we've got. So is it going to let me switch? Okay, so that's the first problem. Switching between clients doesn't work. So what I do, the way I usually do this is I set my Aquaflow to locked. So I can be hands off, both hands are off, and it's going to track what I'm doing. I'm just going to clear it. I'm going to switch to the tab, and I'm going to just basically go over all of the things that I find all in one message. Let me clear that once more. Okay, so it looks like none of the left panel buttons work. It'd be good to at least get them set up as mock pages. They don't have to have live data. We can stay with the overview, but it'd be good to actually have the buttons clickable and they go to just a page that has random data. It doesn't need to change per client, etc. And we can just have like a banner at the top that notifies the client of that. Switching between clients in the top right currently does nothing as well. And same with clicking client dashboard. I can't actually click it. The last thing is that the AI summaries aren't actually generating on everything. And I want this to actually be live where I can like press a refresh button and it generates the AI. So at least the client can see that I've not just written text on the page. It's actually grabbing information and analyzing it with AI. It'd be good for the day picker to work as well, the month picker, and the versus previous and versus last year. That currently doesn't work. And instead of having the client picker in the top right, can we just have it in the actual interface where it says client? I think that'd be a nice touch to show the kind of like interface feel that this will be currently using. Let me know what API keys or tokens you need at the very end, and I will send them to you. Okay, we're going to let that cook. One thing is, if you've not developed anything before, one very, very good practice is if you ever get asked for a token or a key, you want to add it to what's called a .env file. And this might be .env.local, it might be .env.global, but what this basically is a hidden folder where you don't need to paste these sensitive keys that give access to your entire account into the AI chats. Just for whatever reason, if the chats get leaked, if you share the chat, if something happens again with the providers and they get hacked and all of your history gets leaked, you're not going to be having to go and panic and reset all your keys, because people have lost thousands and thousands of dollars from their keys getting leaked and malicious people using those keys to do their own stuff. And so making sure that you never actually paste the key indirectly into the chat is going to really, really be good. One thing that I always do is, like, because you might be like, okay, what is this env file? Where do I find it? How do I open it? You can literally, and I'll show you once we get to it, is you can just say, open the .env file for me in whatever, like Notepad if you're on Windows, or if you're using a coding tool, it can sometimes open it in the coding tool. If you're using VS Code, it can open it in the VS Code, but you can just ask it to open it for you on your computer, and it will literally open it up. You hit paste, you save it, you close it, it's done. You're secure, you're safe. You're not pasting tokens or keys anywhere where they shouldn't be. So we're going to let this cook again for another probably around 10 minutes, and we'll be back to see if it's done all of the updates. Okay, so it looks like after 10 minutes, it should hopefully fixed all of those. So yeah, demo preview overview is a mock module. Local Supabase connected, but the provider metrics on this screen are simulated. Okay, so we'll get the connections done. If I click through these, great. So it's got a good idea of what it should be. It's basically filtering out all of the individual things that are on the overview, I think, into the individual sections. Client dashboard is done. I quite like that. I like the font is picked. So that's kind of where your eye goes first. You see the top level KPIs. Again, this can be expanded on once the data's in. The big any system like this, the most important part is collating the data, right? It's once you have all of the data in Supabase that is pulling automatically from all these sources, the sky is the limit. You can do pretty much anything you want. You can make interactive graphs, you can make animations, you can make the AI and analyze all the text, you can do calculations across, like you can do projections. Like the main part is collating the data. And the big part about building this system live is, especially when you come to Google profiles, is securely and efficiently pulling all of that data into one big database that is going to be stored and updated every single day, that your team can connect to and your clients can connect to securely. Again, this is your client's data. There might be some sensitive data there that they don't want leaking out. You might have employees that you don't want seeing certain parts of your client's data because they don't need to. And so it's figuring out how to securely build the Supabase database, build the login system where you're segregating the different parts of the interface for different users. Like, you never want your clients to see what's in the internal dashboard. That's a big one, right? But how do you make the client dashboard secure? A login system purely for your clients. And so it's making sure that without getting too technical, the database is set up in a way, and again, your agents can do this for you, that have that information in place to know what panels should be displayed and what shouldn't be for that user's login power, as a lack of a better way of calling it. And so I am liking how this looks, especially as an MVP. The next thing I want to then do, and the final thing really for this demo, is 1, install the Apify scraper, and 2, install the AI analysis. We're going to have to figure out a way of what we're even going to scrape, because obviously these are just made up companies. So we'll have to find some random companies to use as the scraping targets. Again, we'll probably just let AI do that. But let's get into that next. That's really the final bit here. So it needs the open API key, the Apify API token, and then later will be the Google stuff once we have the actual full connection. I'm going to start with the Apify token because it's the easiest. So I'm just going to, again, go back to my browser and go to Apify. Now, I already have an account. You can just sign up for free. It's fine. You click, I'm just going to log in. I'm going to click continue. And then I'm going to pretend I don't know anything about Apify, just to imitate how this will run. I'm going to be like, okay, I've made an account on Apify, but I have no idea what I need to give you. Can you give me the direct URL to the spot that I can grab the thing you need and guide me to actually getting it for you? And I'm just going to say that. And again, I know the specific terms to ask, but I'm going to keep it as vague as possible so you understand how easy this is and how much AI can actually do for you. So it's going to be searching for it. It's going to search the documentation of the actual Apify website, as that's usually fairly up to date for most of these services. And we're just going to be, in a second, getting a URL that we can basically just click and it'll go directly to the page we need. Okay, there we go. So I'm going to click on that link and you can see it will take me directly to it. And it's going to just say click create token, name it this, choose a personal token, allow it to run actors and read their run results. So this is where I was talking about, rather than having to get an API for every specific scraper that grabs the data from somewhere, we can just get a top level Apify key, which will basically allow our AI agent to find the right scraper, test it, run the results, grab the results, etc. Way easier. So we're going to just follow it. We're going to close that and we're going to create token. Okay, let's see, where is create token? I can't see create token. There it is, and it said personal. So we're going to go to personal tokens, create new token. We're going to set the expiration date. Just for this tutorial, I just want to set this so I don't leave this going, in just in case if it does get leaked. So we're on the 21st. I'm going to set it tomorrow, and I'm just going to name it Pulse Dashboard Local, like I said. I'm going to hit create, and it's going to, there it is. You can see it's expiring tomorrow. So I'm just going to grab that, and then I'm going to say open my env local file in Notepad for me. I'm going to let it do that. And I'm not going to show you this because it actually has all my keys, but it's going to open it up in the Notepad, and I'm going to just paste it into the spot where it says there. If it's not, doesn't have this already, I'm going to just put this in myself So it's actually pulled it up on the side. So what I'm actually going to do, so I'm going to just delete it to showcase what we'd actually do here. So you can see this is the env local file. It's saying to add this. So the way this works, you need to take this part here where it says Appify underscore API underscore token equals, and then you paste your token after it. So this is where you'll have the big long token that it's you can grab from Appify here. So you literally hit copy, and then I'm going to paste it in this section and hit save. I'm just going to do this off the screen so I don't leak my stuff. So you can see here, again, if you were doing this a couple of months ago, it would be continuous instructing of the agent, but they're so intelligent now that they just know the next steps to take. They know not to just stop once you've put the key in. It's going in and it's actually doing a test of a single run to make sure that it's actually connected, that the systems are running, that it's the right API key, etc. These AI models are so much more capable than so many people actually realize, and you can get so far just by asking it to do things and just letting, like, just not trying to limit what it actually you think it does, but just asking it and seeing how far it can actually go. So that's confirmed, that's in. Next I know what's next we need to get the API key for the AI connection and actually plug it into the same .env file so it can actually do the AI analysis. But I'm going to pretend I don't know that. I'm going to pretend I'm new to all this kind of stuff, and I'm just going to say what's next, because it keeps the memories of these systems. Again, these memories of these agents are really good now, where you don't need to know what you need to do. You don't need to know all of the plans and what next to do. I know this because I've done it so many times now. So it's going to say, I recommend next save Appify runs into local Supabase, display live rankings, use those results, add clear time patterns alive, later replace the, yep. So that's all fine. Okay. So it didn't actually remember it. I say all of that stuff, but hopefully if you're developing a tool like this and you've got this far and you kind of know what you want, you want this AI to actually develop it. So I'm going to say, what about the AI that connected? But while it's doing that, there's not actually anything we need to do directly. Again, this is like what the AI is going to do next for us. Okay, so it's actually, okay, so this is, to be fair, I take that back then. The AI actually knew what to do. It's just, it's already taken it from my key. So I'm going to, again, I'm going to pretend we've not set this up before with the API key for OpenAI. Guide me through this. And again, I'm using OpenAI here because Luna will just do this really cheap. It's a really cheap model. We can put it on, don't even need it on max. It could be on low and probably do a really good job. We may need to do a bit of prompting experimentation to make it not sound too AI, especially with like EM dashes, all that kind of stuff. These ones that came out are pretty good, but again, this was Claude doing this, and Claude is pretty good at language. We want this to be cheap, we want this to be efficient, especially if this is running maybe daily across 100+ clients. So we're going to try to do this as cheap as possible. And so we're going to let it figure out how to actually get the OpenAI keys. Again, it's looking at the documentation, and it's going to get the exact same thing, give us the exact URL to click on, guide us through the same thing, and then you put it in the exact same env local file. And so again, click the link, it takes you directly to the place. We're going to make a new key, and we're going to name it what it said, Pulse dashboard local, default project. I'm going to hit create key, and then you just exact same thing. We go into the env local. I already closed it, so I'm just going to open the .env local file in Notepad for me again. And I'm going to do the exact same thing. It tells you the format to put it in. It's actually specifying the model here, so we can do that as well. That's where it's deciding to put it. Sure. For the MVP, it doesn't matter. So it's just opened up the Notepad for me here, so you can see. All I'm going to do is, I've got my key. I'm just going to put, yeah. I'm going to put, you can see the letters in, and then I'm going to just copy that into the Notepad. One thing I've noticed is saying 5.4. So for whatever reason, it's grabbed onto the older model. So I'm going to say I've saved it in, but you've selected GPT 5.4. Make sure you use 5.6 Luna, because Luna is cheap and it's the latest model, series of models in the latest series of models. I'm using it to build this, so we're going to make sure it uses that. And then while it's doing that, we're just going to have another look. over what it's made and see if there's anything else that we can change. So obviously we can't use this yet because the AI key is probably not loaded in yet, but I think, yeah, for an MVP, this is basically everything. We're going to go back to the overview. So it's got detailed performance and competitive data for the internal dashboard. Client is shareable, and then the AI analysis of the changes. So, I mean, I consider that, I think this is more than enough for an MVP. Obviously, if we're talking with the client, we can really refine it and take it further. But this is going to be the first step. Obviously, once we have access to the Google accounts, we'll use the Google as an MCP connection or a CLI connection. That I'm pretty sure it has both, to actually help me do all of the connections. I will not be going in manually unless there's a specific permissions thing I need to set up. But again, I'm not an expert in the Google API backend. I've got experience in doing it now, but even when I started, I didn't have to consult any videos. I didn't have to hire someone to do it for me. I just told AI to guide me through it. I told it to open up the direct URLs to the pages, and it just does it. It's more capable than you think, and I'll keep reiterating that. Okay, so you can see it's going to be switching both the local environment and the default to that 5.6 Luna, which is what we're using now. And I need to add credits. Okay, I've added $5, as you can see here. So I'm going to say, okay, I've added $5. Can you test that you can connect to the API correctly now? And then I need you to find some companies to use as the Appify scraper targets, so we can actually prove that the connection is working and populating the database. And then I will, once that's all ready, I'll generate an AI analysis in the dashboard. And we're in the kind of final stretch now, other than obviously the Google connection, but we have Appify connected. It's going to figure out I think it already did figure out what appropriate scrapers to use. If not, we'll do that again. And then it's going to plug it into the data, and we'll generate the analysis to show that the AI generation part is working. And I'd be happy for that for a V1 MVP to at least show to the client. One thing to keep in mind, just to give a bit of context of what that is, it's the Google Cloud CLI. This is what you give to your agent to be able to connect to all of the back-end complicated stuff of Google. It will handle about 95% of it. There's 5% where you need to do a bit of setting up permissions, etc. But once you've done that, this will handle all of the complicated stuff. So going back to the agent, it looks like it's still connecting to some generic UK services to make sure that the Appify connection is all connected. And one thing to consider, when obviously this is the MVP, so we don't need to do this yet, but one thing you need to consider is, where is my Excalibur? There it is. When you're building this out fully, in terms of when you're building this out fully, you obviously will have a section that is for the clients. This is kind of independent. You'll have a section for the admin, or like, let's say the organization admin of the marketing company. And then you also have a third view, which is the, let's say, employee number one, but you may also have multiple views for different employees. So employee number two may have a different, employee one might see something else, employee two might see something else, the org admin will see everything, and then the client will just see the basic summaries of the analysis. But it all connects into the same original Supabase, right? And this is kind of like simplifying how the infrastructure actually works of these systems. And so the client will plug into only a specific part of the data of the database. The org admin will plug into another and we'll see most of it. The employee one, again, will plug in, and employee two will plug in and only see certain parts of it. And this is where you'll have kind of like, if you use any typical software that has logins and you can invite your team members, it's that kind of interface where your org admin, because you may, if you're, let's say the owner, the founder, or the COO of the business who's building this internal tool, you need to consider your managers underneath you who will be managing the employees won't be using Claude Code to make changes to the system. You're, as the developer, or you pass this on to a developer, they're going to want to have access to the code to do all of the intricate modifications. When it comes to a situation where, let's say, someone needs to change the name of a client or add a client, they obviously can't go into your employee who usually does this, can't go into Claude Code, which has full access to the entire system, and say, oh, can you add this as a new client? You could build probably, you could, in further down the line, build like an agent that your team can communicate to do certain things. But again, you have the issue of, okay, if the agent has the full access to the database and you're giving it to employee one, which usually only sees a certain part, what's the point of giving them a restriction if they have full access to the system, right? And so you then need to start considering how you set up the certain interfaces, which are maybe admin only, to be able to control the management of the system without having access to the code, without having access to an AI agent that has access to the code, right? And this is where MVPs nowadays can be spun up so quickly. Like, you see, I've done this in under an hour, and I'm explaining, like, if I was just doing this on the side without any of like the tutorial part or the setup, I could get this fully set up in probably under 20 minutes. That part is really quick to do now, especially as an MVP. But when it comes to actually fully connected to the systems, thinking about the backend, understanding how the logins should work, understanding how the access to work should work, all of the security measures need to be taken place as this going to be live on the internet. That's where 90% of 98% of the work is, right? You can do the 2%, which looks like 98%. And then when it comes to the last 2%, that's when you actually take up most of the time, right? And that's the illusion that a lot of people that I speak to fall into the trap of as a founder or as someone in a company. You think you can build these systems really quickly, you spin them up in a day or two, and then slowly over time they start to really just eat into every single spare time. You're fixing bugs, you're working out issues, you're figuring out how to modify the system, and then you'll get to a point where you'll need to make a change in either the database or the system. And this is a big part about kind of building out these systems. You might have built a V1 of this entire system, right? You have people in your team or your employees or your co-workers using it, and there is tons of data that has slowly been adding to the database over the course of maybe a week or 2 weeks, a month, however long you're using it. Suddenly you need to change something in the interface in the system for your client that requires data to be modified, maybe about the client. Maybe you need to link something up to that client, which is another data point. That means modifying the database. Now, the agents are usually pretty good at this, but you need to be careful at that point that you're not going to do something that erases data, especially if this is client facing and your clients are using this or your team are using it. You've got to be careful that when you make major changes to the interface, which causes the database to need to be updated, you're not going to have effects that are going to clear data, remove data, or have massive gaps in data. You need to figure out, okay, do I need to backfill a bunch of data to make the new interface that I've made actually congruent with the new user experience? And so these are the things that when you're a first time vibe coder building up a dashboard, it's very easy, or it's pretty much guaranteed that you won't think about it. You won't even know about it. It's just you don't know what you don't know. And that's when the compounding effects of a badly vibe coded tool can really start to then have a detrimental effect on the operations of the efficiencies of the business. Something to keep in mind. So it looks like Apify returned a complete data set, local Supabase recorded the run, and the rows were inserted for that client. So that's good. That's running. Let's confirm that the Apify connections are there. It's using the appropriate ones for gathering, I think. Did it specify what it was gathering? Doesn't look like it, but while it's doing, we can just see directly on Apify. If we go to runs, what has it actually scraped? Google search results. So this is going to be looking, I'm assuming, where it actually ranks on a search result. Again, you don't really need to worry about this too much. You can just talk to your agent to help you digest the information. But yeah, I'm guessing it's just searched. You can see, yeah, what position it is in. So we're searching keywords and showing what actually searches, what position things are being listed at. So again, this could be for competitor. This might be linking into like the share of voice, right? Again, we don't know what this exactly means, but there's potential that it can like be gathering all of this data. And as we gather this data over time in this interface, once this is fully built out, you have some really valuable data actually that is really sometimes hard to get out in public APIs. And so that's why it's really important that if you're building systems like this, you have databases that are set up appropriately to collect the data, that is logged appropriately for any kind of future additional change you may want in the future, but you don't know about yet. So we're going to wait for that to just finish cooking. make sure that it's all connected. And then the last thing to test after this will be the AI generation in the overview. So we're going to make sure that it actually live generates these AI summaries of each section. So looks like it is confirmed both are live and working. We're going to go in, we're going to hit refresh. Okay, you can see, yeah, it's scraped it. So this is the live SERP observations. It's showing the ranking of all of the websites, and it's actually made them clickable, which is quite nice. We may do some formatting changes because there's a lot of just wasted space here. And in a dashboard view, you want to make sure that you're trying to be as efficient as possible with the spacing without overloading the user. But we know it's connected. Last thing I'm going to do is click generate analysis. And we're going to see if it fully connects to everything here. Okay, that's good, but it's one thing we're seeing here, and you'll see this probably quite common. It's adding asterisks, and this is called markdown formatting. We just need to ask the AI to fix it. And if you don't know if you forget what it means, just say there's text. So in the AI summary at the top, when I click generate, can you fix it? And what it's basically going to do is going to fix it so it actually formats that into bold. But again, I don't like why it's got like such big spacing on the right. Doesn't really make sense. But let's read what it says while it does that anyway. The synthetic dashboard reports July organic sessions are blah, 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 da, 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 da. However, query and ranking data on plumbing terms, while the client is a lead dental studio, the funnel shows blah, session. So this is just where it's got confused because we've got actual data on a client using the Apify scrapes, but what we've actually done, the mock data is actually different. So that's just us setting up the MVP wrong, but it's doing the analysis fine. One thing I'm going to do here, again, this is where you start to really talk to the clients, figure this out, but just what I would like to do is, again, I'm going to log that in. Okay, there's a big blank white space to the right of the AI performance analysis text. Can we fix that? And can we actually highlight the figures inside the generated text to be green when positive, gray when averaged, and red when negative? You can put a little like box around the text, tint the text, and make it a bit bolder. Just again, just nice formatting. It's a dashboard. You want it to be easily digestible. And so I'm just doing little tweaks to make it highlight the key metrics, key KPIs that a user might actually want to be seeing and noticing when they're kind of glazing over kind of all of this information day to day throughout the day, etc. I think what I would also do is just move these key metrics that we see here up above the AI performance analysis. And then obviously it's not actually generating these unless these are a one-time thing. So I'm just going to ask it to also add that. Also, even though we've got the analysis at the top, I still want the AI analysis on each individual card in the overview. We currently have it for some, but not all of them. But I want the generate button to generate a little comment on each specific card within the whole overview as well. And then we're going to let that cook and wait for it to finish. Looks like it's done. Let's go back to it and confirm. I'm going to hit refresh. And I'm going to hit generate analysis. And again, we're making this a button you have to press purely for the MVP. In the real system, this will be automated. Okay, we run into our first error. OpenAI returned no analysis set. So I'm just going to say, I got this error when pressing the generate button. This is good. I thought we were going to run this without any errors. See, can I just hit that again? Maybe it'll work the second time, which will give us another point of information. Okay, so that actually worked this time. And you can see it's highlighting the text. I don't like the green background it's put over the entire thing, but it's doing what I want in a better stage. You can see AI read. It's doubling it up. I'm guessing it didn't consider this original one from the design. It looks like it's cutting it off for some of them. And it's not really doing it exactly how I wanted. So I'm going to say, okay, I ran it a second time and it seemed to have worked. I'm also noticing that you're not using the design of the AI comments that are currently on there. You've added a new one. Let's use the old designs and make sure each one of these generated sentences or 2 sentences are actually explaining to the user what's going on versus just kind of reading the text or reading the graphs to them. Like give a bit more detail and nuance into the SEO improvements or decline. Again, someone who's an expert in SEO may be able to articulate what they want better, but I'm making assumptions here based on knowing nothing about the client, right? So you'll have to forgive me for that, but this is kind of the process that you would go through when you're kind of refining these systems. And I'm also going to say for the top level AI performance analysis, I don't like that overall green box that you've put behind the 3 lines. And can you still keep the bold on the first word, the read out opportunity priority? And we're gonna let that cook. But to be honest, at this point, it's just like minute design changes I'm making, right? The system's here. We've got the database set up in Docker locally. It's all ready. We've got the AI connected. We've got Apify connected. The last thing to do would be to connect Google Cloud into the actual account that is running these in the marketing agency. But this will cover basically all of it. You'll obviously have the client dashboard, which would, again, you just carry on doing what we're doing. You generate with AI. You generate the AI responses. You might refine how it's actually wording it. You might need to simplify it. You might want to go in more detail. But again, the system is in place for you to make these tweaks. The database is set up and links to everything for you to make these tweaks. The final thing is getting this live. Now, there's loads of different services that do this. I use Vercel. It connects up really well. And again, you make an account, Vercel, you go on Vercel, you make an account, and you connect it via, you ask your AI, whatever one you're using, connect to the Vercel CLI or MZP. You can ask it which one is going to be the best for your scenario. Exact same situation. You put the key in the .env file and it can make the project for you. It'll set the project up. It will be for free. Vercel's really good with their free packages where you can just set them up completely for free and just get going straight off the get-go. It just works. It's clean, it's easy, and the AI is so good that they know how to connect to it without much fuss. Obviously, you then need to start, when you get into actually making this really live for people to use, clients to use, you need to start looking into the security. All your .env files, they need to live on Vercel, and what they call it secrets. Your AI will know this. Your AI know how to upload that .env file into the secrets for you, so you won't have to do anything on the security side of things without being worrying about like if you're doing it wrong or not. The AI will handle it for you. But I think we're pretty much there for the MVP. I would probably make the final design tweaks and get this sent to the client to review, ask them what their thoughts are. Do they like the design? Do they like the metrics? Obviously, if we were building this out for a real client, we would have gone through our entire 3-stage process to get before we even got to this point, which is diagnostics, mapping, and the company command center. We probably exclude that last bit, but the main thing is the diagnostics and mapping. I want to know exactly how their business is currently running, what KPIs are important to them, what their team actually like employee stack is, so I know who is going to require what access to what parts, and actually mapping that all out so that when I'm trying to design the process, I have the actual process of how they do it currently completely mapped out so I can translate that into an efficient system. Maybe I have a look at what they're currently using in terms of software so I can try and copy the interfaces so they're not learning an entire new system, right? There's lots of nuances when it comes to just making sure that your team that you're currently using adapts to a new tool. That's sometimes a big thing in itself, let alone the actual capability. Even if the capabilities are really good, if no one wants to use it because they don't get it or it's too complicated or it's too messy or the interface is ugly, it's a useless tool at the end of the day. But I think for what the Upwork post, what this client is asking for, that's basically what it would be without any, obviously having a bit deeper conversation on how this is looking. If you have any questions of any of the issues, if you want to see anything going in more detail, signing up to maybe the services from scratch, signing in completely, making all the accounts from scratch, doing all the API connections from scratch, I'll show you the API keys if you want that, just to showcase the actual workflows. We could do that as well. Leave it in the comments, let me know. But I think that pretty much covers everything for this video. Again, comments down below if you want anything else. I'm going to try and doing these one a day. If you have something that you want built and you don't know it, leave it in the comments. I'll do one of that. Just put as much detail as you can and we'll get it built on a video. Cheers.